Seeing it on your end?
Yep.
Great. Suppress. Start the recording. I will let everybody in now. Admit all. Stephen Dyerkoff is in the waiting room, so you will have him. And give them a minute to join, and you may start the meeting, John.
Fantastic. Hello, everybody. My name is John Alexander, and I'm a board member, and I'm going to be facilitating tonight's meeting. And so it's a real pleasure and super excited that you can feel the excitement building even down here in Ashland, Oregon. But I know people are out on site and they're all doing their wonderful, wonderful things out there, contributing their time and their creativity to make our event wonderful, which then makes our organization wonderful. And here we are, and we're going to do some business for the fair today. And as your elected representatives, I'm hoping that today and every day we continue to work hard. And I know we're all committed to this, to reflecting as a board the awesomeness that the Oregon Country Fair is, and the love and passion and creativity and collaboration that all of our members put into the fair. And so that's my hope for the energy we're going to carry through today's board meeting. I'm going to do my best to follow through with sticking to the agenda with all of us. And I appreciate Stephen. He's going to help me if I get into any questions about Robert's rules or anything else parliamentary. So I appreciate that, Stephen. Stephen, as you all know, volunteers to be an amazing secretary for us. And so really appreciate that. So in starting with announcements, Tom and I did talk about doing another awesome thing and just representing some coolness that's going on out there in the fair. So I wanted to tell you all real quickly. I got to sit in the other day with the Carbon Neutrality Working Group, and want to just give you a little bit of information that I think is relevant to the upcoming fair from them as an announcement. So they've been meeting regularly, and please watch for upcoming surveys that they're developing about our carbon footprint and working on making us continue to be as close to or better than a carbon neutral organization. For now, they're emphasizing and encouraging as much ride sharing and carpooling as possible. So please keep that in mind as you're coming on and off on site. For the fair and pre-fair and post-fair. And in 2019, the group partnered with Portland State University's Institute for Sustainable Solutions and developed a phase 1 report that was summarized in the September 22 issue of Fair Family News. Initial emphasis estimates that the Oregon Country Fair's carbon emissions is at 4,500 tons of CO2 with a mini e. I'm not sure what that means, but equal to the annual electricity of 691 homes. And the research also found that 97% of the carbon footprint calculated in 2019 was due to travel. So by carpooling, we can reduce that significantly. Nearly 55% of the fair's calculated emissions comes from an estimated 60,000 trips made by both booth participants and crews pre, during, and post-fair. So please see the May Fair Family News article, Positively Neutral. That's the title of the article for more details, and you can find the full report and supporting documents on the homepage at our .net site. To reach the Carbon Neutral Working Group, please email us at ocfsustainability@gmail.com. And I want to thank Sally Edmonds, Andrea Carlos, Craig Smith, Luke Hanst, and Cynthia Peachy for providing this report to us. So that's just another wonderful thing that people are doing to make this organization so great. So thanks to them. And Stephen's going to start the announcements, and then we'll move on from there with open announcements.
We actually have Sue ahead of him, but then Stephen. So Sue, you have the floor for an announcement.
Stephen can go first if needed.
Go ahead, Sue.
Okay. I actually have two. My second one will come at the end. This is all about food. People have been asking questions, so now I'm going to give answers. We have 4 new food entities this year. Makeda's Ethiopian food will be at the former Sheila's Gourmet booth space near Drum Tower. Cheesy Wheezy's will be in the former Nearly Normal space near Kids Loop. Dump City Dumplings will be on Shady Lane. Go Giddy Pops should be in Savannah. Retiring booths this year. Dana's Cheesecake, Nearly Normals, and Sheila's Gourmet. Booths that are taking this year off that we know of, DeFrisco's and Olive Grove. And there will be 2 temporary relocations. Buddha Chocolate and Psychedelic Thai will be taking up the space at DeFrisco's because we know how important it is to have food in that stretch. And that's it from Food Committee. Thanks.
Thank you, Sue. I do want to remind everybody, if you're not on the board or a staff employee, please turn off your camera and keep your microphone on mute. So if you have your camera on and you are not a board member or an employee, please turn off your camera. Thank you. Stephen Dyerkoff, you're up for announcements. Floor is yours.
I have 2 announcements to make. First of all, the board met in closed session on May 19th, 24th, and 31st to discuss a legal matter. A vote was taken on the 24th. No votes were taken at the other 2 meetings. The second announcement, I know we're all getting excited about the event that's coming up soon, but very shortly after the event, we actually have our annual election coming up in the fall. And I want to remind folks that advisory petitions that wish to have on the fall ballot must be turned in by July 31st. That is the deadline for advisory petitions. And every year, a third of our board is up for election, and we elect 4 new board members and possibly more if somebody happened to retire in the meantime. If anybody thinks that they can be of service to the organization by being a member of this board and they have the time and the skills to do so, we encourage you to run for board. The deadline to turn in candidate statements for board candidates is August 20th at 8 p.m. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Stephen.
Could I ask Stephen a question?
Yes.
Yes.
The petitions, can you tell me how many people need to sign petitions to be
100
turned
people
in?
need to sign one.
Okay,
These
thank
are
you.
for advisory petitions.
Okay.
Thank you, Stephen. Anne, you have the floor.
I want to announce that Jack Ward, also known as Snow Cone Jack Celebration of Life, is June 11th, 2 to 6 p.m. at Mouse Man's house, a little bit further down Subtle Lane from the fair. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. Are there any other hands for announcements?
I'd like to give my second announcement.
Yes, Sue, the floor is yours.
I'll try to get through this one. This one means a lot to me. Nell Applegate, beloved of Tim Miller, advocate for the marginalized, member of Steel Wool Band, a longtime member of Community Village, died last week. She is already missed by hundreds of people.
Thank you, Sue. Let's have a moment of silence for both of our losses. Are there any other announcements? Please put your hand in the chat box if you'd like to make an announcement. Otherwise, we will move on with the agenda. John, the floor is yours.
Great, thank you. Well, I was a little nervous at start, so I forgot to ring us in. I don't have the talking bowl, but I have something else. And I think after that moment, us all sending our energy out there through the ring in would be a good idea. So I'm going to ring us in. And we will start with approving the minutes from our last meeting. we need a motion from the floor, I
Is
believe.
there a motion on the floor to approve the minutes from May 15th and the minutes from May 1st? So we'll need two motions, please.
I'm
I'll
happy-
move.
I'll move.
Oh,
to
go ahead,
approve.
Paxton.
I'm happy to move to accept the minutes of the May regular board meeting. I think we should probably do the other one as a separate motion.
Yes, so Paxton moves. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Arna seconds. So
Any
there's a
discussion?
motion. Mhm.
I have a minor correction, and I'm sorry I didn't catch it earlier. Paul Fuller of Divine Balance Fruit Salad. The name is spelled F-U-L-L-E-R. Thank you.
We'll get
Without
that
any-
correction made.
Without any further discussion, I'm realizing, do I need to do roll call? Because I don't have a list.
I will do roll call since I have a list.
Thank you
How's that
so
for you?
much.
All right,
You
this is
can
gonna be,
unanimous consent too.
we're gonna do forwards and backwards. I don't want to do unanimous consent because I can't look at all these screens at once. So we're just gonna go quickly through it. Arna, how do you vote?
Yes.
John Alexander, how do you vote?
Yes,
AJ Jackson, how do you vote? AJ, do we still have you? I'll come back to you. Sandra, how do you vote?
Yes.
Lisa Parker, how do you vote?
Yes.
Paxton, how do you vote?
Yes,
Sue, how do you vote?
Yes,
John Silvermoon, how do you vote?
Yes.
Kevin Levy, how do you vote?
Yes.
Tom Horn is absent and excused. George, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Ann Bennett Rogers, how do you vote?
Yes,
AJ, are you back with us? AJ? I see you there. I see a thumbs up. Are we having connectivity issues? I'm going to take that as a yes, as a thumbs up. AJ, can you speak? AJ?
yeah,
He says yes in the chat box.
Is he having connection issues? So that was unanimous. So the May 1st minutes pass.
so
Are
remind me
approved.
the second date.
The second date is May 15th.
Do we have a motion for the May 15th minutes?
and I'm happy to move to accept the May 15th board meeting or special work session minutes.
Mhm.
I
Is there a
second.
s- So who
Paxton and
seconded?
Lisa, thank you both very
Paxton.
much.
Lisa?
And discussion. Without further discussion, Kirsten, if you could take the roll call, please.
We're going to go in reverse order. Ann Bennett Rogers, how do you vote?
yes,
George Braddock, how do you vote?
Yes.
Kevin Levy, how do you vote? Nope. Kevin? Kevin? Okay, I'll come back to you, Kevin.
Sorry, yes.
Lisa P- Yes, is that a yes, Kevin? Okay.
Yeah, with
Lisa
you.
Park. Okay, Lisa Parker,
Yes.
Paxton Hoag,
Yes,
Sue Theolis,
yes,
John Silvermoon,
Yes.
Sandra Bauer,
Yes.
AJ Jackson. He's having technical difficulties. John Alexander,
Yes,
Arna Shaw,
Yes.
AJ Jackson. AJ Jackson. Can anybody get a definitive
has-
from AJ?
to everyone, yes.
Yes. He says yes in the chat box.
Okay, all right. The May 15th board special meeting minutes have been approved
Fantastic. Thank
by
you.
unanimous consent. Thank you.
Thanks a bunch. All right, so we're going to move on to agenda review. The agenda is posted on the .NET site and has been emailed. So are there any amendments? Without any amendments, is it just approved by default, or do we don't vote on the approval of the minute?
We do vote.
never-
We do.
But
I-
there's hands
And,
up.
excuse me. Yep, I have Paxton.
Just wanted to add, once we get to work session reports, I have a work session or the Emerald Ash Borer report.
Okay, when we get to committee work and work group reports, thank you, Paxton. We'll keep you, I'll put you down there as a report. Anne, you had your hand raised?
When do we try and move something from new to old?
Right now.
I'd like to move the request referring to the gala to sponsor for Lane ESD from new to old. It's a time issue.
Is there a second?
Second,
Sue seconded.
Could I ask a question about that?
It's the
May?
perfect time. We're in discussion.
Wait, we
Oh.
we cannot have dialogue. We have to have your hand in the chat box. John Silvermoon is next.
Thank you, Kirsten. Keep me on track.
I'll pass, just asking about moving it from new to old, so that motion is made, so I'll pass.
Thank you. Arna, you have the floor.
Yeah, I'm wondering what the time constraints are on this motion that we have to move it from new to old. Because I generally don't like to move things from new to old in one meeting.
So that would go back to you, Anne, to explain why you would like to move it.
It's the event deadline.
So you're looking for a donation to the event is what this is for.
Sponsorship, and Irene Rashid is here in attendance today to speak to this.
Okay,
We have to get it from new to old before she can speak.
Mhm.
We have a motion by Anne, a second by Sue, and now we have discussion. Is there any discussion? Any questions, comments? And you want to make your pitch about why we should move it?
I think this is really a worthwhile project. I spoke to Irene before I submitted this as a motion, and I think this fits into our values and what we would like to see done. How we can contribute to the African American Black students. I live in like I said, a student neighborhood, and one of the really big issues is basic needs support, especially when it's first generation students or students, BIPOC students, because they tend to have the more limited resources. And this sponsorship will help generate revenue to support them. Thank you.
Anne, can you give us a timeline around the sponsorship so that the board members understand when this event is? You're on mute, Anne.
It was in our board packet. I'm really bad at this stuff, but I think it has to be before the June, July 25th meeting.
All right, thank you. Any other dialogue? Please put your hand in the chat box. Arna, you have the floor.
Is it possible to donate to this program without it going through this fundraising event? I mean, personally, I found the program very interesting, but I was not particularly interested in sponsoring the event. And it does seem if we were just going to contribute to the program, we did not have to do this on the fundraising deadline. And I am interested in donating to the program. I'm also a little concerned about our financial situation right now with the increase in the buses, and we're not in a great financial position right this minute. And I actually would like to put our donations off until August when I see where we're at. And so I see your comment, Lisa, but I'm trying to get more information about why this has to be moved from new to old.
Thank you,
So-
Arna. Are you finished? I'm sorry, I didn't. mean
Well,
to
I
cut
guess
you
I'm
off.
just asking why this has to, do we have to donate through the fundraiser, or can we just donate to the program in a couple of months?
Okay, thank you. I will see if someone will answer that question and who's queued up to speak. John Silvermoon, you have the floor.
The reason to move it from new to old is because the motion is to do the sponsorship. If we move from new to old, I think you'd be perfectly reasonable to offer a donation and rather than a sponsorship as an option, and to do that after the fair. But this is just the question to move it from new to old. I think we should be careful about starting to talk about the merits of the motion before we actually move it from new to old, because then we're talking about we in this essence are already talking about the motion. So. But the event's June 25th, and if we're going to do a sponsorship, we need to let them know so that we can be included in the sponsorship information. If we choose to do something else, that's a whole different timeline.
Thank you, John. I think we got to the essence of the question, which is the event is June 25th. And that is why there is a motion on the floor to move this from new to old. Is there any further discussion? John, take a vote. Call the vote, John.
I'm calling the vote. Kirsten,
All right.
call the vote. Call the what do we
Okay.
call it? Roll call.
All right,
We're gonna get
Arna.
our rhythm here in a second, Kirsten. This is like a
we will. We
jam.
will. This is to move the sponsorship donation to the Lane ESD African American Black Student Success Program. It is sponsored by Ann Sue, John S. Paxton, and Lisa. So the question before you is to move it from new to old. Arna, how do you vote?
No.
John Alexander, how do you vote?
Yes.
AJ Jackson, how do you vote?
No.
Sandra Bauer, how do you vote?
I'm gonna vote yes.
Lisa Parker, how do you vote?
Yes.
Paxton Hoag, how do you vote?
Yes.
Sue Theolis, how do you vote?
Yes.
John Silvermoon, how do you vote?
Yes.
Kevin Levy, how do you vote?
Yes.
Tom Horn is absent. George, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ann, how do you vote?
Yes.
9 yeses, 2 nos. This is now moved from new business to old business.
So a hand.
John Silvermoon, you have the floor.
Can we move it to the first item under old business, since Irene is present? And this would allow her to, well, she'd be welcome to stay if she wants, but this would allow her to take off once the decision's made.
On this one, I will look for unanimous consent through the screen. Everybody give me a thumbs up if you are willing to move it to the top of the agenda. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It has been moved to the top of the agenda.
And
Now
I'm assuming that means of the old
Old
business.
business.
right, to the
agenda.
top of the old business agenda.
Yep.
Finish that sentence.
Excellent. All right, we got this. Okay, so we are still reviewing and amending the agenda. Are there any other comments on the agenda? Not hearing or seeing any hands. A motion to approve tonight's agenda as amended, please.
We need a motion to approve the agenda.
Move to accept the agenda as amended.
Do we have a second? Sorry, was that Lisa?
Anne,
Ann? Ann is the second. All right. Are we ready to
Any-
vote?
We don't discuss this now. All right.
It's always good to say, it's always good to say any further discussion. And we give
That's
it a
what I thought.
second.
All right, let's call the
I-
vote. Can we get a roll call, Kirsten,
Yes,
please?
I see no hands in the chat box. All right, we're gonna go backwards. Ann, how do you vote?
yes.
What are we voting
George.
on right now?
We are
please?
voting to approve the agenda. Thank you for that clarification. With the revision of the sponsorship being moved to the first order of business on the old business agenda. Okay, so George, how do you vote on approving the agenda?
Yes.
All right, Kevin, how do you vote on approving the agenda?
Yes.
All right, John Silvermoon, how do you vote on approving the agenda?
Yes,
Okay, Sue, how do you vote on approving the agenda?
Yes,
Paxton, how do you vote on approving the agenda?
Yes,
Lisa, how do you vote on approving the agenda?
Yes.
Sandra, how do you vote on approving the agenda?
Yes.
AJ, how do you vote on approving the agenda?
No.
John Alexander, how do you vote on approving the agenda?
Yes.
Arna, how do you vote on approving the agenda?
Yes.
All right. We have 10 yeses and 1 no. The agenda is approved.
Great. All right, so let's dig into it. Thank you. So the next thing on the agenda is membership comment. Please remind me of our time limits on membership comment, and Kirsten's going to keep a timer for us.
it's 3
Members have
minutes.
3 minutes. They have 3
Great.
minutes. And I've discovered that I cannot run the timer and run the chat box at the same time. So
Okay.
is there a board member willing to watch the chat box? Can you watch the chat box, John?
I got the timer.
You got the timer. Okay, I
Give
will watch
give
the
me
chat
one
box.
second. Let me just
Okay.
give me my
It
timer.
hides the chat box on me and I can't do both at the same time,
Mhm.
unfortunately.
Wait, stop, delete. Just give me a sec. I'll start waving it around when I'll do a little wave when you get to 1 minute
All right.
left, a wave when you get to 30. So
Right.
here we go.
All right. And then we do carry over. If they speak less than 3 minutes, they have the opportunity to use their balance on other agenda items. So we will need to know exactly what their remaining time is. So tell me once they're done speaking so I can track that.
You got it.
Carolyn G., you have the floor.
Thank you. Hello, board. So, oh, there's my camera. Oh, well, so I am the scribe for the elders committee. And tonight there is a motion on the table to move the age eligibility for elders from 55 to 60 over a 10-year period. So elders worked with the working group, the board working group, to come up with this plan. But I want to make it really clear to the board that before we entered into this discussion, elders got together and we crunched our demographic numbers. We looked at age, we looked over time, numbers of elders coming in, number of elders still camping, not camping, blah, 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 blah. And we came to the conclusion, based on our data, that raising the age eligibility was not going to have a negligible impact on the population of the fair. That being said, the data we did not have access to younger generations coming in. So we do have a copy of that PowerPoint for anybody who ever wants to look at it. I'd be happy to email it. But I just want to go on the record to say that elders did look into this this idea, and we were not too thrilled about changing the age, but we went along with it because the board passed a motion instructing us to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Carolyn. What is her remaining balance, John?
135.
Okay, we'll need to start her at 135. Craig Smith, you have the floor. You're on mute, Craig.
I'll
unmute.
start
There
you
we
over.
go. Too many things
Start
to
it
do, not enough practice. I'm an elder at the fair and have been so for 15 years, since 2008. I'm also a member of the Fixed Asset Committee. And John, thank you so much for talking about carbon neutrality. I'm also a member of that group too. But tonight I wanted to speak in favor of the elder motion to raise the age to 60. I think it's incredibly more generous. I understand why we're doing it over 10 years and not 5 years, but I think it's great. And when I became an elder, the fair was having problems with not having enough crew positions for new people coming up. And I had my children that were on youth crews, and so many of us decided to give up our positions, become elders, even though we were only 55, to make more room for younger folks. And I think that's not as much of an issue anymore. There are crew openings happening a lot. And so I think raising the age makes sense. 55 just seems young. And so I think everything has been taken into consideration, especially hardship for people who can't work on a crew. So there's that in place that Kirsten ED can help. So I think it's a great proposal, and I just want to speak in favor of you approving it. I don't think I would have become an elder at 55 if I didn't feel like I needed to free up my crew spot for somebody else. And so anyway, I think 60 is a really reasonable age. So, and thanks to everyone for all the work you've done on this, and thank you, board, for your diligence in this matter.
Thank you, Craig.
Can I raise a point of order?
Yes.
It's my understanding that member input is for things that are not on the agenda. That if a topic's on the agenda, the input's supposed to occur when the agenda topic is discussed.
We request that members reserve their comments for specific agenda items during the specific agenda items, but member comment is member comment. And if they want to comment on something and use up their time and announce in member comment, then they can do that. How much time do you have left on Craig Smith?
1:06.
All right. Grumpy, you have the floor.
Oh, I just have, hi, everybody. I just have a question. I think someone mentioned that there was a vote in the executive session, executive board meeting. I think it's important that the members know at least the general area of that vote. I don't know if we need to know what the vote was, but why are you voting and what were you voting on in the executive session? Thank you.
If I can address that, it was a confidential legal matter.
All you gonna go.
How much time does Grumpy have left?
2 minutes, 33 seconds.
All right. Is there any other member comments? Kevin Hillary, you have the floor.
Sorry for the delay. Hello, everybody. My name is Kevin Hillary. I am the Oregon Country Fairs arborist. I'm here to talk about the Emerald Ash Borer, which has been going on since last July. I also have a couple requests for the board. And for whoever's been listening or is listening, my question and have more questions about the Emerald Ash Borer, please read the December issue of the Fair Family News, an article called "What Happens When Trees Disappear from the Forest." I've got a lot of experience talking to Fair Family about the ash borer, and I can see when people can start to comprehend the issue or when they're not ready to hear it, whether it is not the right time or place, or whether they have a different focus or it's too depressing. My partner has started calling me the borer of bad news, or bad news borer. The difficult thing to convey about Emerald Ash Borer is the sheer size of the problem. The simplest way I have found to say this is that we're talking about total ecosystem change at the fair. In saying that, that does not even include the human impact or the incalculable amount of effort and money it will take to respond. I mentioned that this week in the Paxton and said that This will require the fair to be nimble. What I can say is that I have found very capable and nimble people in the committees, and it has been amazing for me to work with them, along with Sierra, the site manager, has been doing some heavy lifting, and I appreciate the long phone calls I've had with Hillary. Please know that there is an Emerald Ash Board task force, which I co-chair with the very organized Glenn Johnson, and we report to the Lump Committee, who has done hours of work. The board has done its work by tightening up outside firewood issue, but on Saturday, the greeters knew about the ban, but not how to respond. But some quick problem solving by Sierra and the greeters, this issue was ironed out. Please support the greeters in this task. I think they should have at their disposal some items to de-escalate the situation of taking someone's firewood. Perhaps some food vouchers, t-shirts, or Ritz tokens would help. They also need signage that says no outside firewood. But the issue of live edge lumber is going to be an awkward problem this year. I thought the live edge lumber was banned, but it is only called a vector in the guidelines. If lumber was milled in Washington County in the last 5 years, there's a big chance it could have beetles in it. Greeters and construction crews thinks it is currently banned. I will work on this this month to iron this one out too. Right now, we're mainly working on the education and outreach program part of the EAB. Dennis Todd has done a ton of work at the EAB website, which you can find at the Path Planning website. We will have 3-ring binder with a great selection of information at Quartermaster by tomorrow. During the fair, a clearinghouse of information will be at Stewardship in Xanadu. I will be giving an EAB talk on Friday and Saturday of the fair. My immediate request for the board comes from the Lump Committee, is asking the board do a work session for Emerald Ash Borer in the late summer or early fall. My last point, I also ask that there be a motion to consider giving EAB Task Force a permanent space to give a monthly update to the board. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, it's certainly not boring. Sorry. Any other announcements?
Membership.
We have Cynthia Peachy, a hand for Kirk Schultz. You have the floor, Kirk.
I appreciate this. And first, I generally want to say just how fun it is to be out on site and working, and all the amazing people that are working, and all the amazing things we're accomplishing this year. But I kind of want to piggyback on the back of Kevin Hillary about what we're facing. And I'm not the specialist, so I won't speak to that. But money, straight up money, lots of it. We're talking about lots of money. And I just want to say it that way because I'm on the financial planning. And every year we kind of just stick with, okay, how much are the tickets, or how much are we getting for booth fees, or that kind of thing. And it's not going to cut it. We need to get our minds into a bigger game, a much bigger game. And that's going to be fundraising at a level we have never done before. I don't know how we're going to do this. I know we can, because we're an amazing group of people, but we are going to have to get there. And we're going to have to get there fast. That's the nimble part about what Kevin's talking about. And it speaks to the Emerald Ash Borer, but it also speaks to our future, our survival, about how many staff we have, how much it costs to run our event, how to take care of our volunteers in a good and proper fashion. We've got to get beyond the ways we've run and funded our fair in the past. And I just am kind of expressing that hopefully strongly in a way to kind of challenge us to be creative and reach in and look and learn and find ways. But we got to do it. Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much. That's a minute 13 left on that, Kirsten. Appreciate all these comments.
Last round for member input. Please put your hand up in the chat box if you'd like to speak. All right, we have no more hands, John.
All right, well, thank you very much. And thanks to our membership for their interest in our well-being and bringing this great information to us. I look forward to addressing some of these concerns. So, staff report. I just want to start by thanking our staff and thanking Kirsten, and I'm excited to hear the report because I know it's game time. So what's up?
Thank you, John, and thank you everybody for attending tonight. And thank you to all the many volunteers that showed up on site on opening weekend of Main Camp. It was busy, it was productive. Big shout out to Pre-Fair Kitchen for all the fabulous meals that they cooked. They were delicious. And I hope that everybody had a good time and felt that they accomplished the goals that they had set out to. And we have many goals to achieve over the next coming weekends and weeks. And I look forward to being a part of helping you make those dreams come true. For administration, our site office hours during Main Camp, that is the office at Ware Barn, is June 3rd through July 6th, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Sunday. So if you need any support from the office while on site, please reach out to the site office at Ware Barn. We will have site offices hours during the fair, but they are reduced. So they are July 7th through the 9th, and they are open 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. Friday through Sunday of the fair. The Eugene office is back to regular hours starting July 10th, and that is 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Employees on site during Main Camp, Mark and Alexis will be on site Wednesday through Sunday. Sierra will be on site Friday through Tuesday. Kirsten, Vanessa, and Norma will be on site in the town office Wednesday and Thursday, and then on site Friday through Sunday. Alex will be on site Friday through Sunday and in the town office Monday through Tuesday. Derwin will be on site Wednesday through Sunday. Jeff will be on Friday through Tuesday, and Corey will be on Thursday through Monday. There will always be a staff personnel spending the night on site. This information has been provided to Quartermaster and Fair Central when they come online, and they have our contact information. During the fair, all staff will be on site from July 3rd through July 10th, 24 hours a day. Post-fair, staff will be on site July 11th through the 16th, 24 hours a day, except for Vanessa, Alex, and Norma, who will be in the town office. We have begun the process of mailing out our VIP passes to our business partners and important contacts. An on-site coordinator meeting occurred yesterday, Sunday, June 4th at 2 p.m. It was very well attended and lots of information was shared. There will be a meeting of the coordinators on July 2nd at 4 p.m. at Alice's Fire Pit. As a reminder, there will be no fireworks this year on the 4th of July. The site is closed and only open to working crews. So if you are not on a working crew, do not come on July 4th. Ticket sales are pacing very much the same as last year, although the fact that we have more tickets available than we did last year means that we're actually pacing financially farther ahead than last year. I'm going to give you a quick little update. Friday is 40% sold out. Saturday is 48% sold out, and Sunday is 22% sold out. Historically, we have not seen 15,000 people on Sunday, so I'm hopeful that we will actually sell Sunday out, but I am highly confident that we will sell Friday and Saturday out. And revenue associated with our ticket sales right now is almost double what it was this time last year. The Four Winds database, we still have about 25% of coordinators that have not logged into the database. We are getting close to crunch time, so we need everybody, all the coordinators, to engage with the database and record their crews. We will be reaching out to these crews to make sure that they get the crew data in and offer any support that we can give them to help them meet that goal. As a reminder, Four Winds will close. What that means is no further entries will be accepted after June 30th at 11:59 p.m. That means everything will then go to a manual paper entry documentation. OCF is sponsoring the 2023 Veneta Farmers Market. The city of the city of Veneta, that was a typo, forgive me. That's the city of Veneta Fun Run, which is in September. And we're also sponsoring the Applegate Folk Festival in late July. So we're really trying to make a presence in the Veneta community. And I look forward to not only supporting Veneta, but branching out into the greater Eugene area as finances allow. Culture Jam. So registration is going very well. We still have openings and scholarships available. The deadline to apply is June 15th. The Spring Fling, tongue twister there, fundraiser generated approximately $5,000. This is more than double what was budgeted. This is I want to give a big shout out to all the donors, the raffle ticket buyers, Vanessa, Norma, Alex, and all the volunteers that made it successful. So this is the first time we've had the Spring Fling in 4 years, and the best fundraiser we've had for Culture Jam to date. In regards to our 2023 contracts, most of our contracts are done. I do need to let you know that AT&T and the cow that they normally put there, we are in negotiations. They are talking about not bringing it. They are using the fact that they believe that there's an imminent recession coming and that they are laying off employees. So we are working diligently to get that cow installed. So we win one and then we fight for another. So we got Verizon. We got 2 cows from Verizon. One will go near the reefer dock, which will service the 8, and one will go by Maplegate, which will service the emergency services of Lane County. So we're making progress, but we have a little bit of a setback with AT&T. We're not ready to call it yet, but we're hopeful that we will have AT&T. That means we will have Verizon, AT&T, and T-Mobile. I will give any update as information becomes available. LTD, the contract is still pending. I have seen the proposal and approved it. I'm being told that it's being held up by the Valley River Center. As everybody should know, Valley River Center is the hub of where we stage our LTD service. You can catch the bus from the downtown station to the Valley River Center and then get on a bus from Valley River Center to the fair. We do believe that the service will be comparable to years past. Once we have that information, I believe we will get it hopefully next week. We will post that on the .net, the .org, and we will send out a press release announcing the schedule and where to find that information on LTD's website as well as our website. All other contracts are moving or are done. So we are in a great position to move into main camp. Equipment has been delivered. We've got plenty of gators and golf carts. So we feel like Motor Pool is going to do an excellent job this year in checking out equipment. And we ask that all volunteers work with Motor Pool to share our resources equally among the crews that need them. For permits, all of our permits are done. Camping is going to be submitted. All of our campsite campground permits will be submitted this week. We're still waiting on ODOT. Our outdoor assembly permit for Farside is moving along well, and the right-of-way permit is done. So again, we're in a really great position as we move into main camp, and I'm very excited to get this year's fair up and running. I think it's going to be one of the best ones yet. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much for the staff report. Next is committees.
I'm sorry, I have a question. I put my hand in chat.
My apologies. We do
That's
questions.
okay.
Yep.
That's great.
Sue?
Thank you so much. I'm
Go
going
ahead.
to help.
Excuse me, Kirsten, I just realized I have not heard an update on the compost slab, and I'm wondering if there is one. Thanks.
Yeah, well, thank you. Yeah, we have delayed the actual pouring of the cement. We have prepped the site. It has been compacted, graveled, sectioned off, expanded our parking over there. But we will be waiting until after the event to pour the slab due to timing. We just do not have enough time and staff resources to get that done before the event. But it will be done as soon as the event is over. Thank you for your question. Any other questions?
Without seeing any other questions. Thanks, Sue. Appreciate everybody's help keep me on track. Okay, committee reports and work group reports are submitted. And thank you, Vanessa, for getting those up on the site for us. That's fantastic. I see a hand, and I think there was also a request for another committee report. That might be what Paxton's raising his hand about.
That
So
is correct.
let's take care of that.
Paxton, you have the floor.
This is a little more on the Emerald Ash Borer. We had an excellent walk yesterday with a small group of our members of the work group, and identifying trees and stuff like that, and the plan of what we're kind of doing for this year. This year is going to be predominantly an educational year, where we're teaching people about what the Emerald Ash Borer is and the impacts that it will happen on the fair. We're also doing an inventory of the ash trees on site and looking at putting up signage on almost many of our trees. You know, we want to identify oaks and maples and others besides just the ash tree, but people need to learn how to identify an ash tree so we can start mapping the extent of our problem. We have scheduled another walk after the June-July board meeting and the 25th of June. And we really want to invite all of the board members to come and do that walk so we could talk about show segments of the fair that what the impact is going to be happening in particular areas. These walkabouts have been very, very valuable to me, and I have learned a lot in every one. So I really want to invite the board to that particular walkabout. It'll be right after the July board meeting in June. I guess that's it in particular. I would like to would like to see an Emerald Ash Borer report at every board meeting. I think Kevin can contribute some very valuable information, and I would like to see a place for that. He asked for us to do a motion. I'm not sure it's needed. I would like to talk about later how we can fit this into the agenda as a regular report. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paxton. And it was brought to my attention that I skipped the treasurer's report, but let's just stick with committees and we'll go back to it. Yeah, we're working on the fly here. Kirsten, you're muted. I'm seeing hands being raised, and I cannot my device see the chat. So if
No
anybody's
problem. Sorry. Ann
message.
is next. Ann.
And I just want to add to what Paxton said. And when we met yesterday, one of the comments from Peaches, who kind of identified it really well, is that this is almost like COVID for ash trees. And we need to recognize what's going to be there. The notebook, as Kevin said, will be there tomorrow morning when I bring it. And we need to understand that where it is in this state, in Oregon, Washington County, if you move firewood, wood with live edges, container plants, anything that possibly can carry this beetle, and you pay a $10,000 fine. And that might kind of indicate how serious a situation and how potentially contagious this invasive species is. Thank you.
So did that cover that extra committee thing? Great, Paxton, thank you. So we're going to turn back. I apologize for skipping the treasurer's report and budget items.
Unfortunately, we do not have either our, let me see if I got Linda here real quick. No, Hillary is excused and out of town, and Linda is not available. So the board has the balance sheet and the P&L, and there is no treasurer's report at this juncture.
Well, thank you to them for providing us with the information we need. Those documents help us understand the financial well-being right now, so that's fantastic.
John?
There was a note there. Do I need to see what that said?
No, John Silvermoon is in the chat with a hand raised.
Yeah, I had questions for the treasurers, and I guess it's also a question for you, Kirsten. I've been hearing things that some of the contracts are coming in at much higher amount. I know that at the coordinator meeting, you asked coordinators to hold off on making expenditures unless they were necessary for health and safety. And I think it would be useful to have some kind of financial report that projects where we're going to be. I can't tell from the financial reports that we have and from the generalized statements, what are we looking at? Are we projecting a deficit? Are we not? And it's hard to make decisions without that information. So I think moving forward, it would be helpful to me as a board member to not only have a financial report based on what the actuals have been, but also what we're projecting if we think that things that we budgeted for are going to end up coming in much higher, to actually see what that looks like with the much higher numbers for those budgeted items. And that was going to be my question for the treasurers. I don't know if you can shed any insight into that, or if that can just be conveyed to the treasurers.
Well, I can say that I have provided the treasurers with projections based on some of these contracts and the increases that were not budgeted for. What I can tell you is that if we hold our expenses, we'll break even. We won't make a profit. We won't be in the red. It's also how we handle our capital improvement projects, whether they'll be above the line or below the line. Right now, we hold them above the line. If we hold them above the line, we won't make any money. If we move them below the line, CPAs understand how to capitalize investments and make it so that we show a profit. I will say that we are not out of the woods when it comes to the impact that COVID has placed on this organization due to the loss of 2 years of events. So we need to be very fiscally conservative, not just now, but for the next several years. We need to really question all of our expenses. We need to replenish our reserves that we drew down during the COVID pandemic. And so I ask the board to be fiscally conservative in all the decisions they make. I ask all of the coordinators to be fiscally conservative in the decisions that they make. Health and safety is always an investment that we have to make. There's no exceptions for health and safety. But if we want it but don't need it, then we need to ask ourselves, should we actually spend it? So I really, really need us to tighten our belt to get through this event, to see what our revenue ends up looking like, because basically the revenue is what is paying for our event. We are pacing well with the revenue, well above what we were this time last year, but we need to sell every ticket in order to meet our budget. So it's a constantly moving target, both on a revenue and an expense basis. So it's a monthly observation. And so again, all I can do is send up the caution flag that says, please be fiscally conservative. Don't spend it if you don't have to. Wait until we're on the other side of the event before we decide what kind of revenue profitability we have and what we think we can do with that. Either save it, replenish our reserves, or invest it into other improvements that are needed in the organization. Thank you.
I'm muted. Are there any other questions about the treasurer's documentation?
I guess my question is whether I, as a board member, can those numbers get shared with me so that I can actually see the numbers on which you are basing, and that the admonition is being based.
John, you will need to talk to you need to talk to the treasurer. Unfortunately, the treasurer is not here today to answer those questions for you. So I encourage you to reach out to your treasurers and ask those questions, and I'm sure they'll be prepared to address those in a meeting at the July meeting.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you all. Thanks for your attention to the fiscal well-being of the organization. To get us back on track, treasurers, we're done committees, we're headed to old business, and we've moved the sponsorship donation to the student success program to the top of this list. And thank you for our guest for hanging in and telling us more about that. We'll start with that from the guest. Is that right, Kirsten?
We can either have the motion sponsors give a presentation, or they can defer however they would like to handle this motion.
Great. So this is coming to the table from Ann, Sue, John, Silvermoon, Paxton, and Lisa. So take it away.
I would like to defer to Irene to explain the program. I personally have worked with many, I've worked a lot for about 10 years with first generation college students and who were primarily Latinx. And I think that what she has to present and the way of getting there is important, and a little bit of the background on the program. Thank you, because she does a great job of it. Thank you.
Irene, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you for having me this evening and for moving this to old business. I will give a brief background on the program. So the first thing I want to clarify is we are not asking OCF to fund the event. The event is actually paid for through the program itself. What we're asking is that you actually attend the event, and by your attendance, the table that you purchase, that will go directly into the scholarship fund. And I'll talk a little bit more about that later. This program, African American Black Student Success, is a state-funded program whose money has remained in Portland for many, many years. It's not left the Portland metro area. Because of the support of the NAACP branch, which my husband is educational chair of, partnering with Lane ESD, we've been able for the first time since the existence of this funding to move this money out of the Portland area and into Lane County, which is a pretty big deal. The purpose of the program itself and the goals of Lane ESD with their program is to create an aligned pathway between childhood and educational programs through post-secondary school to reduce the number of discipline incidents that African American and Black students have in schools, increase their graduation rates, and again, moving on to that post-secondary education, increase the amount of culturally responsive curriculum that we have here in Lane County in our various school districts, and to increase attendance and reduce absenteeism in Black and African American students. So with that said, the purpose of this gala is the way the funding works is it works on a biennium, and we're reaching the end of that 2-year period, and any money that the program does not use is lost. It does not roll over into the next year, and then they renew and get a new funding source. So what we have are many seniors in Lane County and students that are entering college or students that are entering into that post-secondary school who the scholarship money that the program passes out, that process would not happen before June the 30th, which is when that rolls over, which is why we are taking the program funds to pay for the event. And because the donations are not supplied through the state, we can then hand that money out rather than having it rolled over directly to the students. Lane Education Foundation is doing those collections for Lane ESD. That may or may not be relevant to you guys, depending on your tax status, but it would mean that it's tax deductible. I think the major sell for this, obviously, other than the fun of the event, which is a masquerade style gala with a live art show, there will be stilt walkers there, traditional Afro-Caribbean cuisine served by a Jamaican chef who will be barbecuing at the event. It'll be fun, right? But the benefit that I saw for you guys and the reason that I approached you kind of ties into a lot of what you've been talking about here in this meeting. And that is that I was able to get Lane ESD to agree to put out a full color magazine style circular to all 47,000 of their student families and staff and faculty throughout Lane County. So that is a huge thing. There are only 15 sponsor tables, 18 tables at the event total. So if you decided to come to this event, and you can choose not to come and just to donate, we can talk about that. But I'd like to see you there. If you are there, and you do have a table, you would be one of those 15 full color sponsor highlights. And in that magazine circular, it would talk about the event itself. It would do a spotlight on the students that received scholarship funds. And then each sponsor would have a full color page that you have full control over, to talk about your organization. If we have some organizations that also do their own fundraising, so you could throw in a QR code, you could use that spotlight as you choose. And we think it'll have more impact because it's coming from a trusted source. Also keep in mind, Travel Lane County will be there. We all have a relationship with them, right? And they'll also be doing spotlights on the event. And then the school district will have their own audio visual team there. And then of course the press will be there too. So it's a great opportunity to do good, but also it has mutual benefit. And like I said, and then of course the enjoyment of throwing on a beautiful mask that you've personalized and just enjoying the event itself. That said, it is costly. The tables are $5,000 per table. And like I said, depending on your tax status, that can be offset with a tax write-off. And it can also be offset with the fact that depending on how you choose to use that one-page highlight, you can draw your own donations, obviously mingle with all of our donors that are at the event, or simply remind people, that your event happens every year and that they can bring their families out to that. Again, 47,000 families throughout Lane County will have their hands on that. So you can utilize that as you see fit. So I do think by listening to you guys and knowing the purposes of the program, that there can be some mutual benefit there. I do want to say one other thing about why now, why not later? The main part of that, I think, is twofold. Number one, the timing of the circular and getting in that, which is what gives benefit to our sponsors, is dependent on the event itself. Number two, this is going into a scholarship fund for students that are entering into the fall. So their application process begins after June 30th. So although you may sponsor the organization, and I would totally support and encourage that, a couple of things would change. Lane Education Foundation would not be collecting those monies, so they would not be tax deductible because Lane ESD itself is not a 501c3, right? And number two, it would not necessarily serve this scholarship fund. Your donation would go into general operations, right? So it would be different in those ways as well. And I couldn't say that earlier, but I wanted to throw that out there because it does look different depending on when you donate those monies, whereas all of these monies are directly allocated to the scholarship fund and will not be used for anything else. And you'll know the recipients of those things by the school year because they would have gone through their application process. And again, we'll be featuring those scholarship recipients in that magazine circular.
Irene, thank you. Thanks for the work you're doing and the passion of that presentation. That's great. I think that I want to remind us now, we're at 8:10. We've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pieces of business on the table. So I'm thinking the best thing to do now is to get the motion on the table for discussion. Is that, Kirsten, help me out with that? Yep. And everybody has that in the packet. So I'm assuming the movers are those who are listed here. Do we need to read that out loud?
There is a decision that needs to be made, and we do need to open it up to member comment. The motion is the board moves to sponsor/donate. The dollar amount needs to be determined to the Lane ESD African American Black Student Success Program. So nobody in the motion said how much. So there is a blank there. So the motion sponsors need to fill in that blank, and then we should open it up to member comment, and then board comment, and then vote.
And so the member comment remains at 3 minutes, less time they've already done, and the board comment has no limit on it.
Correct. So one of the sponsors of this motion needs to finish the motion by identifying the dollar amount that they want the Oregon Country Fair to consider donating. John Silvermoon, you have the floor.
Yeah, this is one of those chicken or the egg things that I have a problem with the way we have. I would much rather have us have a discussion about, sponsoring, and in that discussion, figure out amongst ourselves what at this point we think, if we want to sponsor, what we think we can afford. However, because we have this backwards, that the motion has to have an amount, I'm going to move to sponsor at a $3,000 level, and be open to friendly amendments to change that number downward as a result of the discussion we have. But to get a motion on the floor, I'm just going to move to do $3,000.
I'll
Second.
second that.
Oh, who said that?
Paxton seconded the motion.
He can have it.
All right, ferocious collaboration. Excellent. So member comment, and I'll get somebody will have to remind me if we're working off of an already queued time frame, but
I will. I have documented. Lisa Cooley, you have the floor.
Hi, guys. I just wanted to say that I think that this is an incredible opportunity for the fair. And I know $5,000 is a lot to do, but it would be wonderful if we could have a table there. And just think about the incredible PR that would be for not only the country fair, but also Culture Jam. I think it's a tremendous opportunity for us to work hand in hand with another organization like this. So I'm just throwing out my opinion, and I hope that you guys listen to my opinion, because I think this is a wonderful, wonderful opportunity for the fair. That's all.
Thank you, Lisa.
any other member comments? Thanks, Lisa.
How much was time left on Lisa?
I'm gonna guess 2 minutes and 20 seconds.
All right. That sounds about right. All right. Michael Conley, you have the floor.
Okay, thank you. Irene, this is a question for you. The $5,000 would give the full page advertisement or spread, am I right?
Yes, amongst other things. That's the biggest perk, but there
Now,
are.
how about what would $3,000? Would that have any, what goes along with that?
Yes, so it depends on if you're attending or not. You could just donate $3,000 to the event itself. And it would go into the scholarship fund, but at $3,500, it would be, if you were looking to attend, right? That would be, you would be in the program, you would actually have the physical attendance there, but I'm gonna level with you. At the 3,000, I stand corrected, it is 3,000. At that $3,000 mark, you would not be in that circular. So that's like the main thing that's going to change. You would have acknowledgement in the program, If you did not attend the event, but you like sponsored, basically reimbursing the organization for some part of the event, like that would be noted in the program itself. But it would not get into that circular. That circular is, oh, sorry, that's my alarm. That circular is exclusively for our full table sponsors. But I am not adverse to a smaller amount. Obviously, any amount that goes into the scholarship fund helps, but I'm obviously going to push the thing that makes the most sense, and is for on a mutual level. And it's up to me to pick those 15 tables. And I just thought that was personally a good fit. But yeah, at the $3,000 mark, it's going to be an attendance for half a table, mention in the program. Of course, credit on Lane ESD's website itself. They have a page that's dedicated for this, but it would not be inclusion in that magazine circular that goes out to those 47,000 families.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome.
So I paused for the answer. Michael, you've still got the floor.
Really, I just really wanted to ask that question. What the difference between when Irene had talked about the 5,000 and John had suggested starting at 3,000. I just wanted to know if there would be what the difference in the benefits would be for us, for the fair.
Great clarification. Thank you.
Thank
There
you.
are 2 minutes and 2 seconds left on your timer.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
This
Any
part's
other
fun.
member comments? Last round for member comments. Okay, we're going to now move to board comments. AJ, you have the floor.
Hi, so hello, Irene. Just bear with me. I have several things I want to talk about here. The first one that comes to mind is that I think as an organization that is trying to do good in our community and heal relationships, it doesn't matter to me as a board member whether we get accolades for making donations to a good cause. It doesn't matter to me whether we get, all the fun gifts for doing this. And so for me, that's off the table. I think I would much rather just have a straight donation and do it because we know it's the right thing to do. The second part is, I have been frustrated over this motion because of the way it's come to us. And I was wondering if Irene would like to speak to that, because I think it is an elephant in the room as far as, our $5,000 donation that was denied from the Black Cultural Festival. I think we are, as an organization, trying to find inroads to build better relationships with the Black community here in Eugene and Lane County. And I was, if I'm being honest, I was personally frustrated that when I brought the Black Cultural Festival to this organization for funding, it was denied. And so I'm looking at this and I'm thinking that because this is a cause that is good and we haven't really done the work as an organization to address what happened with the Black Cultural Festival and what's been happening with our community in its engagement with the Black community, I think any kind of donation that we give at this point should be strictly that, a donation, because we are working towards building relationships. And if we go at this after all that's happened in the last couple of years, if we go at this because it's going to be beneficial to us, instead of going at it because it's beneficial to a community that we're trying to re-engage with and connect with, I think it would be a bad look for us. And so I encourage this organization, I encourage the board members to look at the reason why they want to donate to an organization like this and think about how can we do the most good. And I think the most good is not really looking how it benefits us, but how much money we can give to an organization that's doing good work. And when the timing is to give that money. I'm still caught on the idea that, you know, when we have the money after the affair, when I think we will be in a better place, we may be in a better place to donate. I mean, do we need the tax credit for donating money to this cause? And we would have more money, in my opinion, to donate. We have many different ways of donating in our organization, and we could collaborate on those many different ways and make it a worthwhile endeavor for this organization doing the work that it's doing.
So if I can, because he asked me to speak on the elephant in the room, is that fine?
Yes, Irene,
Yes.
you may.
So I thank you so much. I think it's really important to say that I work with a variety of nonprofit organizations. I work with the Zayix Institute, which is an educational institute for Black homeschooled youth. I work with the Black Cultural Initiative, who's the purveyor of the Black Cultural Festival. Lane ESD has retained me to do this for their Lane Abs program. I work with GRIOT, which is a mentoring organization for Black boys, and I work with the NAACP, amongst others, right? So people tend to attach me with the organization that they first met me through. I can't, and I do not want the Black Cultural Initiative or the festival convoluted with Lane ESD, because they're two separate entities, regardless of the fact that you guys are just familiar with me in my capacity in working with various organizations that serve diversity and equity measures. So I think that's the first thing that I want to say. And I was very upfront with that when I approached you guys. Like I said, I had 15 tables. I don't make the final decisions on whether or not anybody that I work with chooses to accept or not accept a donation. I also think that the reason I chose to approach you, and I was transparent that this was separate from the festival, that's a conversation that could happen another time, but that I wanted to approach you on this because I knew that this was part of the desire that your organization had, and also specifically because I was able to get Lane ESD to agree to that big ask of the magazine circular. I am all for benevolence for benevolence sake, but I also think it's really important when we have community organizations that show up to support important causes that they are given acknowledgement, which is why I put that out there as an ask for all of my sponsors, not you guys in particular. So I think it's really important to me, having chosen to approach you for one of those 15 tables, that this is not something that is based off of any level of guilt or attempt to mend bridges. Many people did side eye the fact that I was asking you even for this event within the organization. But what I look for is opportunities to build bridges and opportunities to do good work. I know that you guys wanted to do good work. I knew that I had an opportunity where that could happen. Also putting us in a low pressure, fun environment to be able to engage with other like-minded organizations while also serving your organization, because the reality is for all of us, for all of my clients and for OCF2, it's a twofold thing. We want to do good work, but it also takes money to run our organizations and do good work. So I completely respect what AJ is saying, but I would not, I don't want you guys to have any guilt associated with or to scoff at the idea of reaping the benefits that are given to all the sponsors for the circular. It's an ask I asked for because I thought it was important to be able to offer that up. And whatever your decision is, that would not affect me and my role if we ever decided to move forward with a conversation with regard to the BCF. As I was speaking before I came to this meeting, one of the things that I said was, the timing on the BCF side clearly was not right. And it's probably more right that those conversations happen now than for them to have happened last year. But we should not convolute, because you guys see my face and my name, anything that's going on with the Black Cultural Initiative with what we are here discussing with Lane ESD. I hope you guys will just choose to support an excellent cause and accept the benefit of that support, which is to be able to reach your hands into 47,000 households from a trusted source, which is their educational institution.
Okay, thank you so much, Irene. John Alexander, you have the floor.
Great, thanks. I put my hand in just because I want to ask a question and comment. Do we, in the budget that we passed and in the kickoff that we get from the Oregon Community Foundation, have these funds in our currently passed budget? And then I have a comment I'd like if there's to make, if I get an answer to that, if there is one.
The Oregon Community Foundation is an endowment, and so those funds are restricted, so that cannot be part of the conversation. But in the board
that come to our philanthropic, we get to use the money that we earn from that for our philanthropic purposes?
We do, but it's restricted to specific philanthropic purposes, and that is our grants, right? This is not a grant request. Okay, this is a sponsorship request, and we have a window of opportunity to apply for said grant. Our P&L, our budget, the board has funds budgeted for sponsorships. So there are budgets allocated for giving, board giving.
Do you have a rough number of that?
And P&L, just a second.
And while you're looking, I just think that, again, thank you, Irene, and the opportunity to learn and connect with people seems like an exciting opportunity, maybe for some of us. So that seems like a good opportunity.
There is
I know it's a big budget. Our treasurers do such a good job giving us so much detail. I'll take a.
We have endowment money, but I thought we had a board giving, and I'm not seeing that right now. There was $10,000, I believe, put into board giving.
Okay, well, let's just go with the yes. There's probably something there, and there's more hands. Sorry, Kirsten, to put you on the spot.
Oh, it's called board change. That's why I didn't see it, and it is $10,000.
Okay, great, and we have not spent any of that as of yet.
That is correct.
Okay, thank you. But back to the stack.
The next is Lisa Parker.
Yeah, I was going to speak to that, John, in my comments here. So first, I just want to acknowledge to Irene that it was very clear to me that these are two separate organizations that was brought up earlier. I just want to say, to the rest of the board and to the membership here, I just want to explain a little bit about my thinking. we have just heard about how urgent fundraising is going to be needed to deal with the emerald ash borer. We've heard about how what a tenuous place our finances are given the COVID pandemic and recovering from that. And I think that it's going to be imperative for us to engender goodwill among the community if we are going to be ending up needing to do a lot of fundraising. So that to me, I think whatever giving we do tonight will hopefully be seen as an investment in that goodwill that we can hopefully be able to capitalize on a little bit. Sorry for the terminology, but couldn't think of any other word. So I support this. I support giving something. I actually like the $5,000 option. And, you know, part of that is that Irene has recommended that to us. That is what her ask was. And I would like to honor that. As far as the funds, yes, we do have budgeted under line 5041, board change, $10,000, of which we have spent none. So this sponsorship could come out of that. That's it.
Thank you, Lisa.
Paxton, you have the floor.
I kind of agree with this. I like the idea of getting into the published documentation, and the 3,000 limit would not. Well, I appreciate it going to scholarships because I would like to make sure that we do some sort of donation that ends up in the scholarship program. Given the report on the change line item, I would really like to see a friendly amendment to the motion to buy a full table at $5,000 and to take that out of the change line item budget. Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to step in now to make sure we do this right. Is that a motion to make a friendly amendment, Paxton?
It's a friendly amendment is asking the people that made the motion if they are willing to accept that.
So that's John, and you're the second, Paxton. John, do you
Yeah.
accept his friendly amendment?
I want to say yes and no. I mean, I would like to accept it because that would be my preference. However, I know there are some board members who have expressed concerns about money. And I'd like to make sure that if we vote on this motion, that something is passed and we're giving at some level. And I haven't heard from the other board members. So until I hear from some other board members about how they feel about giving at all, I guess I'm not willing to accept it as a friendly amendment at this point. I may be willing to accept it after I've heard from some other board members.
Okay, so let's get back to the stack then. That's a no.
AJ, you have. Now, traditionally, we've wanted to let all board members speak first round. So AJ, I'm going to hold you off and because we've got some new board members on the stack, and I'll come back to you. Sandra, you have the floor.
Yeah, I do think this is a great program. I do want us to donate to it. Timing is an issue for me. I know that we have some concerns about our cash position situation. We need to have a sold out event in order to break even this year with some of the unexpected bills that have come in at a much higher rate than was expected. And I would like to know what would happen if we're in a negative situation after the fair's over. I mean, what happens if, you know,
I think-
what happens if that's the case? I mean, we're being asked not to spend money unless it's health and safety. Even with budgets that are already approved, we approved them in a different environment when we thought we had estimated the outlay. But you know, the truthing that budget has been quite an eye opener for us. So that's a concern for me. You know, after the fair in August, I think we would have I get that it doesn't work for this dinner. But that's when we know what kind of funding we do have and is available to us to distribute. So I'd like to have that question. Can you address that, Kirsten? I know we don't have any treasurers and you're really good at that. So what's that? And I think we're sort of at a disadvantage not having our treasurers here tonight of all night. So
yeah, you know, it's not that we don't have reserves, we do, but when we do not have a profitable event, we have to dig into our reserves. We've been digging into our reserves for several years now. So it just puts us in a more difficult situation every year moving forward, every time we have to dip into our reserves, right? So, and our reserves are smaller and smaller over the years. Our goal should be that when we have a profit, we replenish our reserves so that we are positioned should anything like this happen again in the future, that we don't find ourselves unable to even pay our bills. So it's really a decision of the board, what amount of risk and reserve spending are they willing to consider while we're still dealing with delicate financial scenarios. Thank you.
So I'm going to remind folks and me too to keep our mutes muted. And back to the stack. Thank you. Or was that actually Sandra? Are you done? You still have the floor. Okay, thanks.
Hey, Arna, you have the floor.
You can pass me on this one. I'll come back later.
Okay, and you have the floor.
For me, this is really investing in the future. We talked about the Emerald Ash Borer. We've talked about education. We implied in the Emerald Ash Borer is also the effects of climate change and invasive species. I am sure that some of these people are going to be STEM students, and this is where we need to reach for those creative ideas so that the fair and everything else we really love and appreciate can carry forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Ann. George, you have the floor.
Well, I'd like to say that I really appreciated Lisa Parker's thinking on this. And I do believe that it's a good cause to donate to. And I also support that idea of, just being in community with these folks and getting to know one another. And in that way, we are going to be finding ourselves at some point when we're going to be looking for that kind of support out there to take care of some of these challenges that we know that we're facing. So I know money is tight, but I also have heard a lot of confidence that we're going to sell out our tickets, and we do have some reserves, and I think this is a good place to spend our money. So I'm going to support this this program.
Thank you, George. Kevin, you have the floor.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. I really I like the cause. I like to give money away. That's the thing I definitely enjoy. It's just I really think I agree. I think the bigger amount in this case would make sense to get us the exposure and recognition in the community. I think that's a thing. I've talked about that before. Not a lot of folks know about the fair, and so really getting more of us out there doing this kind of thing, I think it's important. I think it's important to do a little bit of all of it, even with everything coming at us. I know the money is allotted, so I know it's a line item that's there. We're not dipping into anything to make that happen. But yeah, I appreciate that we've got an opportunity to kind of get in front of more folks. I think it's a thing. We need to be essentially, kind of recruiting and getting our name out there more. And I want to see more more of this kind of effort for sure. As long as we're of course being smart about it, not giving the farm away, which I think we're fine for this, but this is kind of my opinion. Yeah, thanks everybody.
Thank you, Kevin. Arnett, the floor is yours.
I guess this is a question for Irene. I saw that you can, if we ended up doing the $3,000, there's a the live art demonstration could be sponsored for $3,000. I don't know if that has already happened. But I was wondering if that's still available to sponsor if we wanted to do the donate $3,000 instead of doing the 5.
Yes, Arnett, it is.
Okay. And for that, I know we don't get into the program or the circular or whatever, but we would have our name. Was that correct? We have our name at the demonstration area.
Yes, and so there would be a roll-up that would say who sponsored that live art installation or demonstration that's going on at the event. And it's very likely photographs of that station will be included in the circular, also in the videos that are being made in the event and the post-promotional materials. So yes, that option is still on the table. Yes, it is.
Okay, thank you. So if we were going to do that 3,000, I think we should do it that way. If this turns to sponsoring a table, I'm not sure I want to sponsor a table. I'll be honest. I think that brings up other issues such as who goes. This is a black tie affair, guys. I don't know if you all read that. I'm not sure how many of you have your tuxedos and formals in the closet. I mean, it would be a great event. But I also have difficulties with choosing certain board members to go to such a fancy event. I mean, I think there's a certain inequality that happens when only some board members could go to an event like this. And I don't like that. But I'm more in favor of like giving away those tickets. But if we want people who are representing the fair, then I'm not sure who we would be giving those tickets to. So to me, sponsoring a table brings more, I would like to figure out if we decided to do that, how that would work. Because I think that brings some complications to it. So I guess that's it.
Thank you, Arna. Okay, end of first round. AJ, you have the floor.
So yeah, I agree with Arna's last point. Something that I was thinking about is like, who do we decide if, goes to this event, if the fair buys these tickets? And my other thought was, now that we have the information that I think I didn't have before, I think it makes better sense for us to donate directly to the scholarships. And I would ask Irene if by donating to that, I still am against us, what I feel is profiting on this thing by, focusing so much on how it benefits us as an organization. But if we were to donate directly to just the scholarship, would there be any benefit there for the people who are looking for benefit out of this? And then the second part of it is, I would ask that we donate $7,000 to the scholarship. That goes directly to the kids. And that is in my opinion, better avenue to spend the money when we're in the circumstances that we are in right now. Then I feel good about going to a dinner or having people go to a dinner and all of that. Um, I just want us to remember seriously that we are an organization still trying to find our way. And as a, and I don't know, I really don't care how many people of you get hate when I bring the fact up that I'm a Black man and I was a Black youth who had to put myself through college, but that's the reality. And I am looking, when I decide to give money, I am looking at causes that actually have an effect on the individuals that we are hoping that we're giving money to, not necessarily the organization. And so I guess, Irene, if you can answer that question, is there any benefit if we were just to say a straight, $7,000 donation directly to the scholarship fund? What would that look like?
So it would look like giving $7,000 to the scholarship fund, and it would benefit students. That's exactly what it would look like. And I want to be really frank. I am for doing good works without acknowledgement. But I also recognize I'm from San Francisco. Okay, I'm a San Francisco native. And throwing galas for nonprofits out there, our starting rates were $5,000 a table, sometimes up to $25,000 a table at the galas that I have worked. But that's in San Francisco. The gala that I have put together for Lane ESD is unlike any of the galas I've personally attended, or that any of the individuals of the organizations that I work with here in Eugene have attended. It's very different, right? Not just the price, but also the execution of the gala itself. And so I recognize that. And in coming into a market where you have galas where the tables are $150 a table or $500 a table, and then, at a stretch, $1,000 a table, and coming into that market and saying, I want $5,000 a table from you guys, right? That is a stretch. And I knew that it was a stretch. So I intentionally pushed for that magazine circular. And I intentionally pushed to keep the gala small, because by making it small and by providing benefit to the sponsors, I could get the local pool of sponsors to step outside of their comfort zone. So AJ, if the board said, we're going to throw $7,000 at it and we want nothing, I would say, wow, you guys are amazing people. With the BCI, we work with Nurturely, and we run a lot of money through them, and they ask for nothing. Those types of organizations are rare. But if I am being realistic and pragmatic and wanting to see this thing happen, right, then the realist and pragmatist in me says, I want a $5,000 sponsorship from the OCF. I want your people in the building, and I want you guys to do good with that one-page spotlight. I want you guys to take advantage of the sponsor interviews that the film crews will be doing while they're in there. I want that. To speak to what Arna said, because I think it's so important. Some boards are very small, some boards are very large. This is, Afro-Caribbean Carnival themed. It is a formal event, that is true, right? But I invite you guys to be expressive in your formality. I invite you to embrace the mask wearing, to wear unique masks, and to express yourselves, and to come to the event in the spirit of what it is, which is the spirit of community and support, and to have a good time there, and to mingle and to build bridges. I also want to say this, realistically speaking, if we're really looking at, and I don't know, because again, I'm from San Francisco, I don't know the baggage that the community has with the OCF. I can only base it on what I've heard. But the way to actually build bridges and relationships is to have that interaction. It just is. And if I'm talking to a group of people who are concerned about throwing, bad money after good, so to speak, or good money after bad, so to speak, I will say this. $5,000 is a big ask. And the only way that I can justify that to you is that 47,000 families. That's how I would justify that. That is how I justify it to every single one of the sponsors, the 15 sponsors that I've individually approached. It's what can you do with those 47,000 families? What can you do when it's not just a random magazine that's coming to their doors, but it's something that's coming from their school services district. It's something that's being handed to them at the schools from their trusted source. That's a very different kind of advertising opportunity. That is an opportunity to raise funds. That is an opportunity to remind people that they can come on out to the festival. Heck, I don't know how much the tickets are going for this year, but offer a 10% discount on tickets. I don't know what you want to do with that spot. It would be one thing, and I wouldn't advise it. Let's say if you guys were my clients and I was fundraising for you, I would say I would not advise spending money without a return if money is a concern. But if there's an opportunity for you to do good work in the community, to build the bridges that you would like to build, whilst also addressing some promotional issues for yourselves, putting yourselves in front of those 47,000 families. Think about the demographic of those families, those K through 12 families, also inclusive of the staff and faculty over throughout the school districts and at Lane ESD. I think that is a good demographic for an event such as yours. So that's me putting on a hat that I wear for the organizations that I serve here. I love your ask, AJ. It's extremely generous, but I'd rather ask for something I think I can get than to shoot for the stars and not be able to achieve that. And I think a $5,000 ask with the perks that I've laid on the table, I think if you guys sit back and think about that and think about really how you want to frame your page, think about how you want to show up to that event. Yes, who? Not from an elitist standpoint, but there are film crews that are going to be there, right? There are interviews that are going to be taken there. There's press that's going to be there. So maybe pick the people that you think can handle that situation the best. If you have a true introvert, maybe that's the board member that chooses to sit this event out, right? But if you have a well-spoken extrovert that can really serve you at this event, then send that person. If you have a person that does like I do and does the talking to help build some bridges and relationships for funding, then send that person. Don't look at it as a negative, look at it as an opportunity and strategically choose how you choose, if you choose, to embrace this situation. That's what I would say, right? From a caring perspective from you guys, but also from me wanting to get the demographic of people at that gala that I would like to be there.
My follow-up to you, Irene, would be that we have far too many people, and the decision being made on who participates in that would be far too difficult for us to come to an agreement on. And so that's why I was pushing towards doing something where we didn't have to go in the muck and mire of choosing who gets to go to that event.
Okay, next on the stack is John Alexander.
So we're starting to run out of time. I think that there's been some really good conversation here. I am going to say one more thing, which is that I really have been a part of asking for funding before and been a part of philanthropic organizations giving funding before. And it's important that we listen to the people who are asking for funding. And if we choose to give it to them, give them what they've asked for what they've asked for. As opposed to giving them less or changing the ask in certain kind of ways. I think it's really important to listen to the professionals who are coming to us so we can make the investment that they think is best for us to make in their organizations. So I'm hoping John will take a $5,000 amendment and we need to move on as soon as possible. I know there's 2 more on the hand. We're going to have to get a motion to run this meeting for at least 15 more minutes because we have to get to the next item of business. So that's where I stand. Let's get this going.
I'll keep it quick. I think I'm next on the stack.
It is
Am I?
You are, and then it's Sue, then John Silvermoon, then Sue.
Okay, great. I'll keep this really quick. I support attending the gala because I feel that that is participatory. We would be actively engaging in bridge building. It allows for human connection and being part of community in a way that just giving money does not. We have done this type of sponsorship in the past, and we have distributed the seats equitably. If it helps anybody to support this, I will not be able to attend because I have a scheduling conflict and I'm an introvert. So there you go. Thank you.
Sue, you have the floor.
I want to apologize for my laugh out loud, but I think you'll understand my laugh out loud means that I will not be there. I will happily give my seat to anybody with the regalia to attend. I think this is a great cause. Thank you.
John? I think I missed
So
you
if it's
somewhere in there.
okay-
John, sorry,
Which John? Me?
John Silvermoon. Yep.
Okay,
I
good.
missed you.
So if it's acceptable to my second, I would like to amend the motion to donate at the $5,000 table level and to authorize the board president in consultation with the executive director to decide amongst the people who notify them that they would like to attend, how to allocate the 8 seats. And that anybody attending, if it's all right with Irene, should just touch bases with Irene about how much tie-dye they can squeeze into formal black attire. So that's if that's okay with the second, that's what I'd like to do.
Thank you. There is a note that we have a board meeting scheduled for June 25th. It's the July board meeting. So it's rather likely that no board members would be able to attend, or only a few. Next up is Anne, and then Arna, and then we'll call the vote.
Do we need to fix,
Go ahead, John.
do we need to get the second on that, the
Yes.
approval of that? Okay, we got that. Okay, thanks.
Yes, and I'm in favor.
Okay, great.
The event's at 8:30 p.m.
I want to support this amendment to the original motion. And I support everything that Lisa said. And I think the important thing is, like Kirsten said, that we do have a board meeting. It would make it difficult for some of us to get there. And I actually have some clothes that I will, in a variety of sizes, I will gladly share. Thank you.
Thank you. Arna, the floor is yours. And then we move to vote.
John covered what I really wanted dealt with in his amendment to his motion about having the president and you choosing, deciding on who would be going. So that's it.
Thank you. Shall we call the vote?
Please.
All right. Anne, how do you vote?
Yes.
George, how do you vote?
Yes.
Kevin, how do you vote?
Yes.
John Silvermoon, how do you vote?
Yes.
Sue, how do you vote?
Yes.
Paxton, how do you vote?
Yes.
Lisa, how do you vote?
Yes.
Sandra, how do you vote?
Yes.
AJ, how do you vote? AJ?
Yes. Yes.
John Alexander, how do you vote?
Yes.
Arna, how do you vote?
Yes.
We have 11 yeses. The motion carries.
Thank you. That's exciting.
Uh,
Thanks so much for coming and sharing this stuff with us. This is exciting, and for your perspective on the partnership end of things. Okay, so do I need a motion?
One thing, can I say something really quick? Irene, thank you for your time tonight. Please contact me and Vanessa at your earliest convenience so we can make arrangements for the full page ad.
I will do. Thank you guys all for your support. And you have
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a good evening.
Do we need a motion to extend the meeting?
We do need a motion to extend the meeting.
What I'd like to
move-
hear is a motion to extend the meeting to take care of the conflict of interest one, and to table the rest of the items and try to get that done in 15 minutes with the closing president's piece and the meeting evaluation. Is
I
it-
move to extend the meeting 15 minutes.
I second it.
Okay,
Any discussion? We need to discuss that. All right, all in favor?
I'll
just-
call a roll. I'll call a roll. Just,
So can't we just do it? Okay.
okay, well, you can, but I can't see you all simultaneously.
Oh,
So
well,
do we have unison? You go ahead. Everybody show me your thumbs. 15 minutes. Thumbs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That gives 9, 10 from Ann. Okay. All right. We will extend the meeting 15 minutes. Is everybody okay with tabling the Personnel Policies Committee appointment? I need a thumbs up on that. Table that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, that's enough to carry. So that's been tabled.
Can we do it? Can we try to do it as a group by any chance? That way we can save some time.
What do you mean as a group?
Tabling everything except
Yeah.
for what John.
Yep, let's table. Okay, the next one will be table everything except for the potential conflict of interest. Thumbs up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Sue, do I see a thumb up or a no? 8. 8's enough to carry. All right. Everything's
Can
tabled.
I
9.
Can I ask a
Mhm.
question?
Mhm.
Can we table the committee best practices? I will not be at the Junely meeting because I will be out of the country. And since I'm the chair of that committee, of the best practices committee, I'd like to actually table all of that stuff to the August meeting if possible.
Shall we table to August? Thumbs up, everybody. Table committee best practices to August. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
We don't need to vote on
8.
that. She can table it.
Great,
It's her
great,
motion.
I can just,
great, great.
yeah, it's my
Okay,
motion. I
great.
thought I could just table it.
Yeah,
Table
you're
till
good.
August. Got it? Got it? All right.
So Arna so we're covered that. We're good to go. We got one more agenda item besides
We're
the was up. So Arna and or Sandra.
Sandra, you want to read it out? Do you have it?
Yeah, I do have it here. Potential conflict of interest. In accordance with Article 10 of the OCF bylaws, the Board of Directors recognizes a potential conflict of interest wherein George Braddock, the owner and operator of the Ritz Sauna, serves as a member of the OCF Board of Directors. The material facts of the transaction have been disclosed to the board, and the board has determined the contract to be fair to the board. The board hereby authorizes the transaction of business between the OCF and the Ritz Sauna LLC.
I second.
Discussion.
Membership comment.
Membership comment. Thank
Are
you.
there any members that would like to make a comment on this motion? One more call out. Any member comments on this motion? All right, we open up to the floor for board member comment. Sue, you have the floor.
I am going to respectfully ask that we include a line that guidelines must be adhered to and archaeological laws and regulations must be adhered to. Thank you.
Arna and Sandra, do you accept a friendly amendment on that?
No,
No,
those are in the guidelines. They're required of everybody.
Okay, John Silvermoon, you have the floor.
So there were a lot of people wondering why some of us raised some questions about this when it was on the agenda previously. For me, there were two major concerns. One is that at the time, at the previous board meeting, Ritz Sauna LC had been administratively dissolved by the Oregon Secretary of State on September 9th, 2021. So it was not a legal business entity registered with the state of Oregon at the time of our last board meeting, nor might I point out at the last fair. It subsequently has re-registered with the state, did so in March, so that concern is gone for me. My other concern revolves around issues that have occurred over the years and most recently occurred earlier this year about ground disturbance at the Ritz Sauna of the recorded archaeological site there. I know that the language in the contract saying that improvements have to be approved before they're done has been cited to me as a reason that that concern has been met. However, I don't think that's sufficient because maintenance could disturb the ground too. Maintenance of existing things. There is nothing in this contract that says that the sauna has to follow the guidelines. I'm told that, well, everybody has to follow the guidelines. Well, this is a contract between us and the Ritz Sauna, and given the history, I can't vote for this without a clause. I would like to move to amend the motion that with the following language: board authorization is contingent upon the addition of a contract clause specifying that Ritz Sauna LLC is to follow all applicable Oregon Country Fair guidelines.
Arna and Sandra, do you accept that amendment?
But he wasn't making a friendly amendment. He was amending.
I'm not making a friendly amendment. I doubt they would accept it, so I went directly to making that as a motion.
I would not accept it.
So we ask for a second at first.
I will second that. It is my concern as well.
Do we discuss?
You have discussion
Yes.
on the motion now.
Yes.
Just, we're discussing only this.
Only the motion.
Only the motion.
Only the amendment to the motion.
The most, thank you. Thank you very much, Stephen. Only the amendment to the motion. So we are only the merit of adding these sentences to the motion. Anne has her hand up in the window, not in the chat.
Yeah,
So I'm
not in the chat. Next up is Paxton.
I'm in favor of the contract, but I also like the friendly amendment. I think all booths are required to follow the guidelines. And there has been some concern about this in the past. So I'm happy with the friendly amendment. And I want to say the sauna is a wonderful place. I was there last Saturday. I really, really appreciate what they do. Anyway, I really want to support them. Thank you.
Thank you. Anne, you have the floor.
I support the amendment, and I really think it needs to clearly state that they have to follow the guidelines. A number of people have called me and said, I hear from personnel at the Ritz that the guidelines do not apply to them. And I find that very disturbing. And I really, I did talk to George earlier this year about comments some of the Ritz personnel were making, because they are really inappropriate. And as someone who has had their professional qualifications questioned by some of the Ritz personnel, not George, I find the guidelines really need to be included. Thank you.
Sandra, you have the floor.
Yes, I think this is completely unnecessary to have this in here. It's already a requirement of every booth to follow the guidelines, and there's written in the guide, there's, that they need to be implemented, and this is a very professional, safety conscious, organization that does a lot of good work and is a huge benefit to the organization. And I think that this is kind of frankly insulting, and I just don't think we need to do that.
Arna, you have the floor.
I agree with Sandra. I just don't think this is necessary. All booths need to follow the guidelines. I've worked with George. I know George can sometimes push the envelope a little bit, but you can get right back there and push it right back, So I find George easy to work with and not a problem. And I just think this is unnecessary and will not be voting for this amendment.
AJ, you have the floor.
Yeah, I agree. I find this kind of insulting, especially from what I hear from John and Ann, who are a part of a committee who has resisted being singled out to follow best practices, for example, yet they want to single out the sauna in this amendment to make them do something. It's silly. It's really silly. And I don't know why we're wasting our time on it, but it's another way to divide and play this game, and it's just ridiculous.
Lisa, you have the floor.
Yeah, I don't think this is a big ask. If every booth is required to abide by the guidelines, then I don't see why it should be a problem to just include that language in this contract. I don't think it's insulting at all. And I think that it would be a gesture of goodwill to go ahead and just include it.
Kevin, you have the floor.
Yeah, I'm just gonna pull my newer board member card. So what's the end game for all this here? Is the idea that, like, if nobody agrees, the sauna goes away? I mean, I don't want to panic anyone, but it just doesn't make sense. So if you have a booth, you're automatically signed on that you'll abide by the guidelines. Is that how it works? Just hopefully somebody can. I'm just not sure if that's what we're talking about here, or does everyone else's contract have that in there, or is it because the Ritz is such a big deal? I just want to make sure. Thanks.
Anybody want to answer that question?
Well, as far as I know, booths, when they agree to get a booth, they agree to follow the guidelines.
Correct.
I can't talk about other contracts because I don't deal with other contracts, but booths always agree. It's part of their contract with the fair is to abide by the guidelines.
So as far as I know, it's not in every contract that goes out to everyone. I'm sorry. Thanks.
Sue, you have the
I
floor.
don't think this is. Can I speak?
Yes, you have the floor.
Okay, there was other noise going on. I don't think this is silly or unnecessary. I'm not playing a game. There have been issues in the past, and I'm not blaming George, but I do think there are some folks that have been involved in the sauna for a long time that the sauna has a bigger impact on the fair than any other booth. And yes, they provide an incredibly wonderful service, and for that I am very grateful. I would just like this language included to make it clear that they are expected to follow the guidelines and all the architectural rules and regulations. That's all I'm asking for. This is not a slap in the face to George. This is not to be doing anything performative. This is what I would like to see in the contract. It's that simple.
Ann, you have the floor.
Yes, I want to add what AJ said, because in our packet, it said what to do with committees who haven't sent in their annual review. And it lists them. He did not list them all. They are archaeology, poster, diversity, food, elections, lump, Peach Power, Vision Action, and path planning. And I do support this amendment of including the guidelines. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm gonna jump in here. We're at our 15-minute mark and we need to get this motion through and then get the motion, the amendment motion through and the emotion to go through. So now we need to extend the minute for another 15 minutes. The meeting for another 15 minutes.
I move to extend the meeting time 15 minutes.
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Can we do this just yippee? AJ? Others? Seeing thumbs up from everybody, I think. Not.
I'm gonna abstain from extending it.
Thank you, AJ. Okay, that's extended. Everybody but one I saw. Is that cool, Kirsten?
Last round, and then we'll call the vote on the motion. Sandra,
I was going to call the question, but I'll take hands down. I'll take my
Okay.
hand down.
Paxton,
I support the motion because I've heard many times that they have been given an exemption from following the guidelines from previous general managers, and I am not sure that it holds. And I would like to see this wording in the contract also. Thank you.
AJ, you have the floor.
Yeah, again, this board is crossing over into operations, dealing in contracts, where we were just supposed to acknowledge that there wasn't a conflict of interest, and now we're getting into the weeds of things that we shouldn't be, and we agreed that we wouldn't get into. So now we have to bring up, so is every contract that operations and our ED gives out, are we now going to have a say-so on whether they've had good behavior, bad behavior? We're going to throw in extra added things we want into contracts. If you go down this rabbit hole, we can go down this rabbit hole, but this is not what we signed up to be. You told me 3 years ago that this was now a governance board, and that this is not a part of the contract that we should be discussing right now. And if Kirsten can make it clear, or somebody, one of the people that made the motion, what exactly we are here voting on, and not this mess that we are diving into.
Okay, time to read the motion again. John or Sue, would you please read the motion that you are asking the board to vote on?
I think I read
Wait.
the motion out.
No,
Are you talking about the amendment?
The amendment. We're talking about the amendment.
Right, we're talking about the amendment. And we're going to take a vote.
I put the amendment in the chat. Board authorization is contingent upon the addition of a contract clause specifying that Rich Sauna LLC is to follow all applicable Oregon Country Fair guidelines.
All right, let's take the vote. Arna, how do you vote?
Yeah, my hand was in the chat box. Did you miss my hand?
I don't see your hand. You spoke after Sue. Sorry. Yes, after Sue. Go ahead.
So Article 10 of the bylaws specifically states that it's the board's responsibility to ensure that the contract is fair to the fair. That is why we are talking about the contract and whether it's fair to the fair. Now, I believe that a fair contract to the fair with the Rich Sauna is one that is going to ensure that it follows applicable guidelines. The sauna is unlike any crafts booth. It is this hybrid beast that has negotiated in the past agreements with fair management about how it was going to run. So I think it is different than the other crafts booth, and I think it needs to be made explicitly clear in the contract that they're to follow fair guidelines. And that will get my yes vote on the motion altogether. So it is in the bylaws. It is a duty of the board to act on the contract.
All right, let's vote. Arnett, on the motion, the amended motion, board authorization is contingent upon the addition of a contract clause specifying that Ritsana LLC is to follow all applicable Oregon Country Fair guidelines. How do you vote?
No.
John Alexander,
No.
AJ,
No.
Sandra,
No.
Lisa,
Yes.
Paxton,
Yes.
Sue,
Yes.
John Silvermoon,
Yes.
Kevin Levy,
No.
George, or do we exclude George from this vote?
You should be.
Our bylaws are ambiguous on this. George may or may not vote depending on what section of the bylaws you read, but in no case is his vote counted, or does he count as part of a quorum?
So then we'll skip George. Ann,
Yes.
we have 5 yeses, 5 noes. It does not carry. On to the original motion as presented by Sandra and Arna. Let's count the votes. John Silvermoon, how do you vote?
I'll pass for right now.
I'll come back to you. Sue, how do you vote?
This is really difficult. I want the sonnet to be able to function, but I want the sonnet to be functioning with our guidelines. I can't support it as it stands. I'm dreadfully sorry, but that's where I'm at. No.
Okay. Paxton, how do you vote?
Yes, because I do expect them to follow the guidelines.
Lisa, how do you vote?
Yes.
Sandra, how do you vote?
Yes.
AJ, how do you vote?
Yes.
John Alexander, how do you vote?
Yes.
Arna, how do you vote?
Yes.
Kevin, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Ann, how do you vote?
I need to abstain and I need to report to the ED the people who tell me that they don't need to follow the guidelines. Thank you.
Thank you. John Silvermoon, how do you vote?
I'm going to abstain.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We have 7 yeses, 1 no, and 1 abstain. The motion carries.
Thank
2
you.
abstentions.
2 abstentions.
Oh, I'm
Kirsten.
sorry. I meant to say, sorry, 2, excuse me, 2 abstentions. Sorry. Thank you. The motion carries.
So thank you all. Moving on, we have a meeting evaluation, and I do have a written statement from the board president. So last round for the good of the peach.
This is open to members and board members. So whoever wants to go, just type in the chat box. Ann, you have the floor.
I really want to thank Irene for coming. I think we all learned a lot about the community of Lane County. And I think that was really important. Thank you. And thank you, everyone.
John Silvermoon, you have the floor.
I want to thank my fellow board members for the way the discussion about the Lane ESD sponsorship went. I think it does show that we can reach agreement amongst ourselves. I'm not sure we were all on the same page when that discussion started, but I think we got there by the end. And I think that's a positive way of working as a board together.
Jonathan Pincus, you have the floor.
I just want to thank the board for doing this really hard work. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Again, meeting evaluation. Put your hand in the chat if you'd like to say something. AJ, you have the floor. You're on mute, AJ.
Sometimes I come to these meetings and I cross my fingers that maybe just once we can work together and do good for the people who voted us in and our communities, and that it doesn't always have to be a struggle, knock down, drag them out. And I understand that's the nature of, people having conflict and all of that stuff, but I'm glad to see that that the donation went forward despite some of my reservations around how it came to us. I encourage us as an organization to think about how we donate and how we spend our money with other organizations and the message that it sends and what we get back from it. And as board members, I would encourage us, I hear this from many different people, I would encourage us, like people have encouraged me, is to not see the negative in everybody else's opinion, not always think of the better good that people are trying to, express. I think it's still sad that we are divided the way we are. I wish that there was just one, hopefully one. I'm challenging everybody. This is the last thing I'll say. I will challenge every board member for the next meeting. If one of us can come up with a motion or some way that we all can agree on, something that we all can agree on for once before we go into a fair. Is there something that us as individuals, as a group, as good humans can agree on for once this year? I would have really loved that and appreciate that.
Thank you, AJ. Sandra, you have the floor.
Yeah, I want to thank you, John Alexander, for running a good meeting and staying calm and hurting these cats. You did a good job. I really appreciate you taking that on.
Thank you, Sandra. Eileen Van Leenen, you have the floor.
Hi, I thought the meeting was really run well. Thank you, John, and I appreciated everybody's contributions and how well everybody pushed through with the change in the agenda. I just had a question. I didn't realize that 4 people could bring a motion to the board, and I just want to recognize that this last minute motion that came to the board by 4 people, which I thought there was supposed to be a different amount of people to bring a motion. And that motion then took up the entire agenda and the entire board meeting. And it was good work and everything was important. But again, it takes everybody else's work that they prepared for the meeting and offset till whenever. It's just a thought that we should be a little considerate. And I don't know, John, or anybody, was this brought forth the right way that we had voted on the change in way motions come to the table? That's a question I have.
So I'm not sure. We'll get an answer back to you on that one. I don't know.
Right now.
Yes,
It takes
yes.
5 people, and 5 people did sponsor this motion. It takes either the board president and 2 other board members, or 5 board members if the president does not sponsor the motion. There were 5 people sponsoring this, and it was all done properly, moving it from new to old.
Okay, thanks for letting me know, Stephen, and thanks for a good meeting.
Thank you, Elaine. Paxton, you have the floor.
Good meeting, and I think we do process, we're working out our processes, and I think we actually do a pretty good job. I think we're productive. Personally, I'm one of those that would rather deal with more business and not table things and go to later meetings, but I understand that that's not popular with this group. I'd rather get the work done and take time to do it. But thank you very much. I think it was a good meeting. I'm really looking forward to the fair this year, and I think we'll have something going. I think we'll do a very good job. Thank you.
Thank you, Paxton. And John Alexander, there are no other hands in the stack, so the floor is yours for the remainder of the meeting.
Okay, I will abbreviate Tom's comments. No, I'm just going for it. It might go over as the president of this is from our president, Tom, who as the president of this esteemed board, I want to take a moment to express my deepest gratitude and appreciation to all of the volunteers that make our country fair an amazing experience. As I walked the 8 with my family on Saturday, I felt a wave of happiness and joy, seeing the smiles and feeling the incredible positive energy all around. I want to take a moment to thank you all, your volunteers that make our fair possible. Thank you so much for your invaluable contributions, creativity, and positive energy, your selfless dedication and tireless efforts that you have made and continue to make a significant impact on the people, tens of thousands of people, really. Our country fair volunteers are family. The impact of your volunteer work extends far beyond the tasks you perform. Your presence brings joy, comfort, and hope to many. Your enthusiasm and passion inspire others, fostering a sense of unity and shared purpose. Your kindness, compassion create a positive rippling effect that touches the lives of countless individuals. So on behalf of the entire board that Tom is authorized to speak on behalf of, I want to extend our deepest gratitude for your unwavering energy, creativity, and support for one another and for our fair. We are immensely grateful. Your dedication inspires us as a board to strive for excellence, and your passion fuels our collective efforts to continue to do better service, to continue to be better in service for the fair. Once again, thank you from the bottom of our hearts for your selfless dedication and the countless hours you have devoted to our fair. With deepest appreciation and warmest regards, Thomas Horn, OCF Board President. And I do have this, and I'll do it on time this time.
Thanks for a great meeting, everybody. Next meeting, Sunday, June 25th, 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. at the Alice's Fire Pit. It will be hybrid, but we didn't have a lot of success last year. We're going to try better, but it's hard. So try and come in person if you can. Have a good evening, everybody.
And an EAB walk afterwards, please come.
Night.
And get your EAB laminate then.
John, is that like a whammy bar? Is that what is that how that works?
You know,
Never
Oh,
seen a
you're
cat
going to
hurt
learn
itself
so
before.
much, Kevin. So much.
It's amazing, Ann. I'm grateful. I have to heckle the mediator.